Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're circling back to a really important topic in cardiology, Wolff-Parkinson-White Syndrome. And, well, we're doing this explainer because our first try just wasn't as clear as it needed to be. So this is all about making it right.
We put these explainers out there to try and make really complex stuff simple, but sometimes we just miss the mark. And when that happens, we're actually counting on you, our viewers, to call us out on it. We got some feedback on our last WPW piece that was, well, it was direct, to the point, and honestly, a little tough to read. And there it is. A viewer, Dr. K6619, left this comment. A comment like this really makes you stop in your tracks. Your first instinct might be to get a little defensive, right? But the better reaction, the one where we actually get better, is to listen. So we went back, we watched our original lesson, and you know what? We absolutely could have done a better job. So we're seeing this as a great opportunity to just scrap the old one and build a brand new explainer from the ground up. One that's way clearer, much more detailed, and hopefully a lot more helpful. So let's do this right. All right, let's get into it. But first, I want to set the stage a little. Interpreting EKGs is hard. Like, really hard. It's a skill that you have to practice constantly. In fact, a huge meta-analysis in JAMA found that the median accuracy for EKG interpretation across all levels of medical training was only 54%. So if you find this stuff challenging, believe me, you are not alone. To really get what goes wrong in WPW, we first need to have a rock-solid picture of what goes right in a normal heart. The best way to think about the heart's electrical system is like a perfectly designed highway. Okay, so normally an electrical impulse kicks off in the SA node. That's the heart's natural pacemaker. From there, it spreads across the atria and pulls up to the AV node. Now, the AV node is like a critical traffic light. It actually holds the signal for just a fraction of a second, and that pause, it's absolutely crucial. It gives the ventricles time to fill up with blood before they get the signal to squeeze. After that little delay, the signal just zips down the bundle of His and through the Purkinje fibers, triggering a really nice synchronized contraction. So what's different in Wolff-Parkinson-White Syndrome? The whole problem boils down to an electrical shortcut. It's an extra pathway, kind of like an electrical side road that just wasn't supposed to be there. This extra pathway is called the bundle of Kent. And as you can see here, it creates a direct bridge from the atria straight down to the ventricles. This little bridge completely bypasses the AV node. And more importantly, it bypasses that critical built-in delay. So this bypass leads to something we call pre-excitation. And the name says it all, right? Pre for early. Because the signal zipping down the bundle of Kent doesn't have to wait at that AV node traffic light, it gets to the ventricles early, and it starts to activate or depolarize a little piece of the ventricle before the main signal even gets there. This right here, this is the fundamental event that creates the whole WPW pattern on an EKG. So, the million-dollar question is, how does this pre-excitation actually look on a 12-lead EKG? Well, it creates this classic trio of findings that, once you know what you're looking for, are pretty hard to miss. And here we go. This image shows all three features beautifully. We're going to break this down piece by piece so you can lock it in and spot it every single time. Let's start with clue number 1. The PR interval. It basically measures the travel time from the start of the P wave to the start of the QRS complex. Since that accessory pathway lets the signal skip the AV node's traffic light, the signal just gets to the ventricles faster. And the results? A PR interval that's noticeably short, less than 0.12 seconds, or 3 of those little boxes on the EKG paper. Okay, next up is the real star of the show, the true hallmark of WPW, the delta wave. Look really closely at the very beginning of that QRS complex. See how it doesn't just shoot straight up? There's this slow, slurred upstroke. That slur is the delta wave. It's the picture of that initial, slow activation spreading through the ventricle muscle, cell by cell, before the super-fast Purkinje system takes over. And that brings us to our third and final finding. The whole QRS complex is wide, wider than 0.12 seconds. Now, why is that? It's because the QRS in WPW is what we call a fusion beat. It's literally the combination of 2 different signals fusing into one. It starts with that slow, slurred delta wave from the shortcut, and then it gets overtaken by the fast, sharp signal coming down the normal highway. Blending that early, slow signal with the normal fast one creates a single, wide, and let's be honest, kind of bizarre-looking QRS. Okay, so we can identify the pattern, but why does it matter? Why is recognizing WPW so incredibly important? It's because this pattern, which can look pretty innocent on an EKG, can be the setup for some really dangerous arrhythmias. That extra pathway creates a perfect little racetrack for what's called re-entrant tachycardia. An impulse can go down the normal path and then circle right back up the accessory path to the atria, over and over, creating a crazy fast short circuit. But even more dangerous is if a patient goes into atrial fibrillation. That accessory pathway can act like a wide-open freeway, letting all those chaotic rapid signals bombard the ventricles at rates of 300 beats per minute or even more. And that can degenerate into ventricular fibrillation and sudden death.
And this brings us to one of the most important things to take away from this entire explainer. Standard medications we use all the time to slow the heart, the ones that block the AV node, are absolutely forbidden in a patient with WPW who is in atrial fibrillation. Why? Because if you block the normal AV node highway, you're going to force all of that fast, chaotic traffic down the accessory pathway shortcut, and that can be catastrophic.
So, what's the long-term fix? And what are the absolute must-know points from today? Let's just summarize everything real quick.
For patients who actually have symptoms from their WPW, the definitive treatment is something called catheter ablation. A specialist can thread a catheter up into the heart, find the exact spot where that accessory pathway is, and just burn it with radiofrequency energy. It permanently gets rid of the shortcut, and it has a really, really high success rate.
So, let's bring it all home. When you're looking at an EKG and the thought of WPW crosses your mind, just remember this simple 3-point check. First, is the PR interval short? Second, can you find that classic slurred upstroke, the delta wave? And third, is the whole QRS complex wide? If you can check off all three, you are looking at Wolff-Parkinson-White.
And that wraps up our second look at WPW. This explainer from Whole Life Healthcare is dedicated to Dr. K6619. Thank you for your feedback. It's a really powerful reminder that in medicine and in life, really, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to always be learning, always improving, and always be willing to take a second look. Thanks so much for watching.